Yeah.
So who are you?
Me, I'm, I guess, Kamran Razvan. I started Click&Pledge back in 2000.
Yeah. And what does it do?
We provide online payment system, online payment solutions for nonprofits, for organizations, associations, you name it. Pretty much, as I always tell people, is our emphasis is on services, exchange of services. We don't deal much in retail.
Yeah.
If you want to buy a red shirt with a pink pant, it's not that there is anything wrong with it, but that's not what we do.
Yeah.
Naturally, as part of it, we don't deal with returns, we don't deal with chargebacks, we don't deal with a lot of everything.
Yeah.
People donate, they're not going to change their mind.
How many people are in your business? Because I'm not familiar.
You mean
very
in
much
the
with
sector, or?
Yeah, with the because you supply technology and service so that people can donate money to nonprofits, right? How many other companies are doing that kind of thing?
Credit card processing is, if you go around and you say accept credit cards online, it's dime a dozen, right?
Yeah.
But so is email, but so is storage, so is you name it. Anything these days is commoditized.
Yeah.
How can you not be a commodity? What makes Rackspace? After all, a server is $50 on eBay, right?
Yeah.
So why do people don't buy a $50 server and make their garage into Rackspace?
Yeah.
As a good friend of mine always says, is stew is easy. I mean, all the components you can buy, but the taste is different.
Yeah.
So really, from our perspective, it's our application that people get. It's the application has been under development pretty much since 2000. The first version I wrote myself using Microsoft Access for the local United Way here. At that time, I was part of their executive, whatever board or sub-boards. And everybody had problems, sort of like lawyers, when you're in technology, everybody comes to you and says, I just got a ticket, what should I do?
Yeah.
When you're in technology, I have a virus, what should I do? I have this problem, what should I do? So they told me, oh, you're the only one that knows what internet is, and how can we accept money? I said, it should be easy. So I started researching, and I noticed back then PayPal was just coming out. You're probably too young to remember when PayPal came out. PayPal, not that anybody else is not young enough not to know what PayPal is. But I take it you and I, we go.
I've been in the guy's car who started PayPal, so...
Yeah, I mean, back then they were giving $5 to people to sign up for accounts. Yeah. And I always looked at it and I said, oh, well, I mean, it's an interesting idea. But for accepting donations online, there is a lot to be done. It's pretty much software such as PayPal are designed for person-to-person exchange. That's why eBay bought it, and it's pretty much a person-to-person type engagement.
Yeah.
In our system, for example, politicians use us all the time because they need to be compliant with campaign finance laws and everything else. A lot of things that people take for granted, for example, I go buy stuff online all the time. Okay, where was your number lately? Our credit card security, where did you use your credit card last? And PCI certification. The cost of being online really is a lot if you think about security. Otherwise, anybody can set up a server, anybody can, Rackspace says we have physical security.
Yeah.
I mean, those all have value.
Yeah.
So when you look at companies such as Click&Pledge, we pay we're around just like $5,000-$6,000 a month just for third parties to monitor us.
Yeah.
We have companies that monitor the monitoring company. So, security is in how broad you are, and no matter what you are, you can always just block the last thing you know, right? You're as good as the last attack.
Yeah.
So sort of like for your insurance company, you're as good as your last accident. So if you really think about this, that's why people come to us. We add somewhere around 150 to 200 accounts a month without doing much. We're just
and all nonprofits.
Yes.
Why only nonprofits?
Oh, actually, it's not just nonprofits. Unfortunately, our name says Click and Pledge. Pledge has that promissory non-profiting type feel to it.
Yeah.
But we primarily deal with nonprofits, associations, political campaigns, universities. As I said before, pretty much anything that is not retail type. Even though right now we are entering into new markets, and again, you can name a lot of services as such that are not involving exchange of goods.
Yeah.
I mean, rents, just to name a few. So those were part of our original business plan, but at the moment we are just starting to get into those. Our engine is there. We have an API. We have a reporting server that we just brought online. So we are now working with the developer center to create a bazaar so people can develop applications on our platform.
Yeah.
A lot of things that if you...
Why hasn't Facebook bought you yet?
They haven't called me. Maybe they don't know my number. But the likes of Facebook were actually writing applications on those.
They're building their own payment service, but it would make a lot of sense for them to buy a company like, or somebody like Facebook who wants to get into the payments
Yeah,
system.
the payment world, it's one of those things, you know, for our expectations of numbers, my life was in numbers before I started Click&Pledge. You know, our school, everything that I paid tuition for was in with mathematics. Mathematics is something funny. You know, if I tell you 10 million, you have no comprehension of what that number is, because our understanding of numbers is the size of our pocket and how much money we have in our savings account, right? $3,000 means something to us. $10 million is just a bunch of numbers.
Yeah.
So when you look at the market for online
Your Bill
payment
Gates,
processing.
that's how much you have in your pocket.
Yes. So when you look at online payment systems,
And he doesn't give it up either. I asked him, can you give me $300 million so I can go buy some companies for you? And he said, nope.
yeah, it's
with being nicer than
we're as good as our liquid assets, right? Especially in this marketplace. But if you think the amount of money that exchanges hand on a daily basis,
Yeah.
it's in trillions, right? 0.1% of a trillion is still... Infinity is one of those numbers that 0.1% of it is still infinity.
Yeah.
So that's the attribute of infinite numbers, right? Even if you take every other number, you still have two infinite sets.
Yeah.
So it's, if you think about amount of money, it doesn't matter how many competitors you have out there, the market is huge. The more companies you have in this market, the more awareness you get, then you're competing based on your products.
Yeah.
And it's not like email where you use an email and now it's hard to change your domain, right? Because now everybody has your email. If you find a secure company that processes payments for you and all of that stuff, the customers don't move as much, but even if they do, there is so many customers out there that are just getting into this, because the new generation in Europe, if you really think about this, nobody is using checks anymore. By 2011, 2012, I think,
Yeah.
checks are going out. They're no longer here. Even though in US, e-checks are still one of the largest methods of making payments.
Yeah.
But in 5 years, really think about this. The 14-year-olds and the 13-year-olds are going to spend money.
Yeah.
What do they know of checking accounts?
Yeah. I remember I was one of the first people to use a credit card at a Starbucks. And people
Yes.
looked at me really strange. You know, now it's a common, nobody looks at you strange anymore, but the whole culture has changed.
The concept of currency, money and credit is changing.
Yeah.
And the whole notion of money, of course, money is an obsolete method of credit anyway. You know, I mean, what is money? It's something we designed in the 1900s, if not earlier, and then came up with the treasury departments and all of that stuff. But money is going to go away. The form of currency is going to go away. And if we can come up with that digital persona, then if we trust each other online without seeing each other, face to face, then what's the next step?
Yeah.
The currency is going to go away. So how do you make this money exchange easier? Mobile phone is still there, but I'm still not 100% sure how it's going to play out. If I honestly thought that, I think the people that can put Visa and MasterCard out of business are the likes of Verizon. And I'm wondering why they don't do it. just get one
Antitrust.
bill, right?
Antitrust. I always thought Microsoft
There's nothing
was gonna,
antitrust.
Well, I always thought Microsoft was going to put the banks out of business with Passport. Remember Passport?
Passport had a lot of problems.
Yeah.
You see, people don't want to use. We have way too many things that are occupying our brain cells, even though we have unlimited brain cells. But I've realized the older I get, one information comes in, something goes out.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I don't have any control of what leaves, right? And I know it's typically the stuff I pay tuition for. Right now, I can't solve a partial differential equation. So something must have occupied that space.
Yeah.
So I always say, since I have no control as to what leaves, I try to control what comes in. So there is a lot of stuff out there, and Passport had that problem, not only security, but do people really trust? But think about a cell phone, right? If Verizon wants to do this, I have a cell phone and I can just beam my money to you and I get it in my Verizon bill.
Yeah.
I already have a trusted agent called Verizon that I pay.
Yeah.
But I wonder why they don't do it. It's not an antitrust issue. So, but anyway, but again, with credit cards, we are in the exchange of money between organizations and their patrons and supporters. Political parties use us a lot.
Yeah.
And
well, cool. I gotta stop here, but it's been fascinating talking with you.
Sure.
Where can we find information about you?
clickandpledge.com, as the name
Carolyn,
implies.
I will send you everything.
Well,
Oh, do you mean for them?
Here is
for my
card.
video audience.
It's at clickandpledge.com,
And
CLICKAND.
what are some of the organizations we can see your technology used on?
We have over 9,000 organizations from all over the spectrum. We have public radio stations, political campaigns all over the place, national organizations. These days people ask me, where can we see references? I say Google us, because you'll see everybody that is out there using us, they all have a link to us, to our payment system.
Yeah.
But
And so if I'm a politician or I want to put your how do I pay you? How do you get paid?
We basically, the way we get paid is we have an application fee, which is nominal. It's about $150 to set up an account. And that pretty much is a way to make sure that we don't just get people that just apply and take space. That's just like a qualifier.
Very cool.
If it was not a qualifier, it would be like $10,000, like what other companies do, to use our software. And then we just charge a little over what the credit card fees are. Our fees are about 4.5% plus 35 cents a transaction. And if they want to have their own merchant account, it's 3.95%. So it's 48-hour deposit into their bank account, and we pretty much make our money that way. We think as our service to be a win-win. If they don't raise money, we don't make money.
Yeah.
So it is to our benefit to be stable. It's to our benefit to be secure, for them to prosper. If they prosper, we prosper.
Very cool. Thank you so much.
Thank you.